So welcome to the SGMP Florida Capital Chapter March 21st meeting, and I'm glad you're here. I'm going to minimize this window while I begin on the topic of today. Did you all notice that I put a handout on the website? Did anyone notice? Nobody noticed? Okay, well, it's on the website, and you don't need it for today, but if you want to access it later, you're welcome to. And the entire presentation will also be there in recorded form. This, to me, is one of the most important topics because people so often have fears that hold them back. And I have a saying that true transformation to leadership begins when people overcome fears and self-limiting beliefs to get out of their comfort zone and into their strength zone. Fear is huge. And so I wanted to begin with some questions to see what you thought of the topic of fear. In which ways are you courageous? Don't worry about it. What are your biggest fears currently? From where do you think your fears stem? And what past fears have you overcome and how? Anyone want to start? And I'll begin if you don't have anything. So my biggest fears when I was growing up, I had two huge fears. The first one was I was very camera shy, like terrified of cameras, much like my dog is now. And so every picture I have of me as a teenager especially is my hand in front of my face. You won't find a teenage picture of me. I hated being in front of the camera. It was insecurity that drove that. Also, driving insecurity was my second fear, which was public speaking. I was the kind of person, I know, Ellen's like, what? You were afraid of public speaking? It's not jiving here. So I was terrified. I was one of those people that was called on in class, and I remember just thinking this is the most horrible thing in the world. My heart was pounding out of my chest. I loved podiums because it was a barrier, and I could grip it really hard. And I remember sweating, and I remember not having any clue what I said. And I just remember thinking, please let this be over. And it would be over, and I had no idea what I said. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, that's just miserable. I never want to do that again until they forced me to do it again. And so you're thinking, well, how did I end up doing what I do for a living, right? I decided that I didn't want to live a life of fear anymore. And here's why. My parents, who were divorced, by the way, are two completely different people, and it's no wonder they're divorced. My father is fearless. In everything he does, in everything he's been fearless. My mother, on the other hand, is somebody who has always let fear rule her life. And so I remember growing up, and my mother, truly, here are just a few of her fears. She was afraid of water. She was afraid of hot water. She was afraid of birds. She was afraid of rodents. She was afraid of dogs. She was afraid of public speaking. She was afraid of social interaction. She was afraid of men. She was afraid. I could go on. And I just remember thinking, as I was growing up, that I started to take on some of her fears. And I thought, I don't want to live like this. This is not the way that you're meant to live this life. And so I chose as my first profession television journalism to force myself to get over my two fears. I went to FAMU and FSU for journalism, specifically to overcome those fears. Now I started with print and then went to radio and then went to television just because I knew that it was going to force me out of my comfort zone and make me overcome my fears. I had no idea that it would end up leading me down the path that it has led me down and helped me discover my passion. Since then, I now coach people all the time. I coach people working in state government. I coach in my leadership academy. I have people in government. I have people who are self-employed. I have people who are retired. I have people who are unemployed. And they have fears too. And what I teach them is that a fear is something that is not meant to be run away from. It's meant to be run toward. It's meant to be overcome. There's a reason for a fear in your life. And it's normally something really powerful that when you overcome it, it brings massive transformation. And so Having said that, in what ways are you courageous? What fears do you have? Has anyone else overcome a big fear?
I haven't overcome spiders yet.
Spiders? You know what? Spiders used to be one of my fears. My mother was afraid of spiders. And this is a true story. I remember when my parents got divorced, we lived in Satellite Beach, Florida. And suddenly we had nowhere to live because we were in the military. And they kicked us out of military housing, and we only had one place to go, and my parents had bought this little house in Podunk, Redneck, Ohio as an investment, and I hated it. And as soon as we got there, the tenants were mad at us because they didn't want to leave, and it was nasty. It was just like they left feces, we had to clean it out. And I remember cleaning out this closet. I was 12 years old. I remember cleaning out this closet, and I already had a fear of spiders. And I was cleaning out this closet, and literally, like 200 clear little spiders crawled all over me, and I thought the world was going to end. Now, I've since believe me, I thought I would. I have since overcome that fear, and now I will never hurt a spider. I will look at a spider with respect. I won't touch a spider. If I just think, okay, you're a spider. It's okay. I can't explain how I overcame that other than just saying this is just a stupid fear. And
my
spiders
fear is calling my husband, kill it.
Okay, who else? Who else has a fear? Yes.
Heights. I had
Heights.
heights when I was young. Yeah.
Did you have an experience when you were young with heights?
I would say so. I think I had it all along when I was young, but then I became a kind of person that challenged myself. So I started doing things like climbing on ladders, and I went up on like the second floor, jump off the thing, and build the roof of the house. I would do stuff even though I feared I would challenge myself on that, and how I got out of it.
So you don't have that fear.
So I don't.
Good for you. That's awesome.
I made myself get out of it.
Good deal. Who else? That's all hand. Yes. Failure. Oh, that's a big one. That's a huge fear.
Yeah.
And so many people have that fear, and it limits them. They don't do things. And in fact, they often get stuck. They get stuck in jobs that they're not happy in. They get stuck in relationships. They get stuck because they're afraid that if they make a change, it may be a change for the worse rather than a change for the better. It's a really common fear. But I'll tell you, it's a really important one to overcome. Yeah.
Growing up, my parents called me Chicken Little because I was afraid the sky would fall in, and I was afraid of everything. And then at a very young age of 19, I married my husband, and he moved me across the States and then across to Germany. And I remember trying to find my way home. I was in Brackenberg, and we lived in Bayreuth, and I'm trying to find my way home, and I'm crying. Actually drove there, and I was crying, and Paul was I, and I couldn't, so I had to grow up.
Yeah. My mother had fear of driving, and she still does too. That was another fear I forgot about. Yeah. But you overcame it.
Yeah, parents
Go.
I got a baby overseas, and so.
Good.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Yes.
I used to be very quiet and shy and retired.
Yeah,
I have notes.
No,
Janet,
No, they're
you know what? I was too.
Oh, yeah.
I know. A lot of us were. It's okay.
And actually, somebody, when I started work at Wakulla Springs,
Mhm.
somebody actually made something, a remark at one point, little mouse, and I think it actually was my youngest son. I think that's probably, I thought about this,
Mm-hmm.
in my job, the job that I basically had to deal with people, and I think as you get comfortable, but also my youngest son had cystic fibrosis, and diagnosed very, very young, and so you had to deal with a lot of stuff, hospital stuff. You just get, you got to do what you got to do.
Mhm.
So I think just the fact that I had to all of a sudden be an advocate for this child, I think, and start making noise, probably I just got used to it. I do not like snakes. I'm not getting over that fear. I'm sorry. I don't care. Snakes.
I got over my fear of snakes. I got over my fear of snakes too.
Is a pair of snakeskin shoes.
Aw. My mother had a fear of snakes as well, and I got over that fear
I
too.
run from sticks that look like snakes.
All right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this stuff. Let me just make sure we're still streaming. We are. Okay, good. So, by the end of the session, and what time does the session end? Because I feel like we went really long on the introductions. That's okay. So how much time do we have? Like 10 minutes?
Yeah,
By the end of the session, you should be able to differentiate between fears and phobias. There is a difference, and it matters. Identify fears, causes, and ways to overcome them. Discuss courageous leadership, and develop an action plan to become a fearless leader. Okay? So, it's important to align your mind, body, and spirit to overcome any fears that you have. Fear really stands for either false evidence appearing real or face everything and rise.
Very nice.
Yeah, I like the second one too. So I really believe that fears are signposts that are meant to be run to. And I have seen people make profound life changes once they've overcome fears. And I'm one of them. I'm a testimony to that. The difference between a fear and a phobia is a fear is an emotional response to a real or perceived threat, and a phobia is a kind of anxiety disorder, and that's characterized by an intense or irrational fear of an object or situation that poses no real threat. Phobias are more serious. Phobias really often require interventions to overcome. So a lot of people have fears, and a little less people have phobias. Now let's talk about the top phobias. What's that? Oh, well, as a matter of fact, let me just wait a second. Let me just go over the top phobias of 2017. Trypophobia, fear of holes. Aerophobia, fear of flying. Mysophobia, fear of germs. Claustrophobia, fear of small spaces. Astrophobia, fear of thunder and lightning. This is a true phobia my mother still has to this day. When I was 4 years old, my mother would say, "Come on, kids, go unplug." We lived in Florida. Thunderstorm coming. She has her little children go and unplug everything. Okay? I'm just saying. Xenophobia.
Put everything, I'll be quiet.
Xenophobia, fear of dogs. Agoraphobia, fear of open or crowded spaces. Acrophobia, fear of heights. Ophidiophobia, fear of snakes.
That's me.
And arachnophobia,
I wanted to.
fear of spiders. Now, clowns is on the list in like the top 15 to 20. So it actually is on the list. And at one point it was in the top 10.
So I mean, a lot of people are scared of spiders.
A lot of people are scared of spiders. That's not an uncommon fear. Yes.
So what is clowns falling?
It has fallen off the top 10 list, but it was on the top 20. It's in the top 20. It's definitely in the top 20. I can't remember. Somebody Google and say, what's the fear of clowns called? Somebody do that real quick. That's really a weird fear.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm teasing you.
That's way up there.
That's like fear number 500, and that's so far down the chain. That's a really rare fear, but
That's like, don't like cats more than fear.
yeah. Okay, so somebody is looking it up right now.
I can spell it, but I can't.
Let's see it.
That's the name of a movie.
Oh, coulrophobia. Coulrophobia. Fear of
Why don't they just call it
Coulro. Coulrophobia. Coulrophobia. Fear of clowns. Fear of clowns. All right.
Not at all.
Oops. I already did that. Okay. Now, common fears of leaders. All a leader is somebody who influences other people. Everybody in this room is a leader. And in my opinion, leaders are people who positively influence other people. You don't need to be in a position of leadership to be a leader. Okay? You can be a leader in a church. You can be a leader in a volunteer organization like SGMP. Right? So, common fears of leaders. Confrontation. Criticism. Public speaking. Making the wrong decision. responsibility, failure, and success. Yes. Now, interestingly, a lot of people who think they have fear of failure actually have fear of success. They're often confused, and they're often motivated by the same thing. Okay? A Columbia University study done in 2014 found that 57% of participants thought they were being assertive when everyone else thought they were being under-assertive. This is dealing with fear of confrontation. So a lot of people have fear of confrontation. So many problems that I see in organizations, in relationships, even in families, is that people are afraid to have these difficult conversations. They're afraid to talk to each other about things that need to be dealt with. I don't doubt that, Cheryl. But you need to do so in a really positive way.
Right.
Okay? So if you are, for example, a supervisor of a person who is behaving badly, let's just say in the workplace, then I have a method that works really well. And this is on your handout, but I call it the beer method. You'll never forget it. Okay, George? The beer method. Beer. Okay? So what it is you're going to focus on the behavior instead of the individual. What is the behavior that this person is doing that you want them to stop? What is the effect of that behavior on the organization, on the workplace, on morale, on sales, on whatever it is? The second E is expectation. Then you have to say, I expect that, and be very clear about your expectations. And finally, R is result or consequence. What are going to be the repercussions if this person does not do what you expect them to do? And you have to enforce whatever it is. If you're the supervisor, you have to enforce it. If you don't, guess what's going to happen? They're going to go right back to that behavior. I see this problem all the time in organizations, that supervisors are afraid to confront their people who are behaving badly.
Say that again.
Behavior, effect, expectation, result, or consequence.
Gabrielle, what if it's the supervisor that exhibiting those kinds of behaviors?
Yes.
And you're trying to sort of, you know what I'm talking
Yes.
about, Jennifer?
So what I say is the root. What I say is the root of all evil in the workplace, and quite frankly, the root of all evil in this world today, is fear and insecurity. Fear and insecurity drives bad behavior in the workplace. So when you have a supervisor who misbehaves, often it's because they're threatened by their people. Okay? They're threatened by somebody who does things better than they do, who gets along better with other people than they do, who is doing a good job. They're threatened by them because deep down they're very insecure. And so they don't know how to deal with it appropriately because they're not a good leader. A good leader loves that. A good leader wants people who do things better than them because they know that that makes the whole organization shine. But an insecure person in a position of leadership who's not really a leader is going to put that person down. They're going to bully that person. They're going to do everything they can to demean, demoralize, and quite frankly, take away that person's self-confidence and self-worth. And how many of you have ever been a victim of bullying in the workplace? This is a topic I teach about a lot. It's a horrible thing. What you have to do if you're...
Raise both of your hands. But guess what?
Yeah.
I'm still there and they gone.
Good. So what you have to do if you're in that position is, first off, tell yourself it's not about you. It feels like it's about you because they're trying to make it feel like it's about you, but it's not about you. It's about them. It's about their insecurity. They're a scared little boy or a scared little girl, and all they're trying to do is make themselves look good by making other people look bad. And, yeah.
All the time, bullies, they're insecure. You know, although they may think the person they're talking to is insecure. Because of their behaviors, the things that they do, the things that they fail at, their leadership style. So oftentimes, based on my experience, the bullies getting read as well as being very insecure as they try to do other.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying is that bullies are very insecure. They come off with a big ego, but deep down they're very insecure. And what bullies do is they pick the most competent, confident person, and they break them down. They target somebody who really has their stuff together. And what they do is they start to make that person question themselves. That's their goal, because they cannot comprehend that there's somebody out there who has their stuff together. And it upsets them because they don't have their stuff together. So a bully picks the best person. And what they do is they enlist weak people around them. Weak people who feel like they're afraid, they feel like they're afraid of losing their job or whatever, to help reinforce that behavior. Yes.
And the leadership style also, the way that leadership style they use.
Yeah.
They try to use that very negative leadership style, which is like micromanagement.
Yeah. Oh, they'll do anything they can to try to control the other person. Yeah. Yes.
When I was in a position of supervision, one of the most valuable tools I had was when I took the course of transaction analysis.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn to talk to adults, children, adults to children. But when you put yourself in a position of always putting other people down,
Yeah.
you're not using your full potential.
Exactly.
And I had to supervise people who wore guns, so I had to learn tactics. You don't call a man wearing a gun, something.
Yeah. Did someone else have a comment? No? Okay. Another thing you want to do when it comes to confrontation is use the calm model of conflict resolution. So conflict is normal, but if we ignore conflict, it festers like a wound, right? It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And a lot of people think if you ignore it, it's just going to go away, when in actuality it gets worse. So I love the calm model of conflict resolution, which is clarify the issue, address the other side, listen, and then manage your way to resolution. Okay? So you need to actually have those difficult conversations with people. Practice and improve your emotional intelligence in order to have better dealings with confrontation. Don't put off those difficult conversations. And here's a big one. Reach out to people that you've had a disagreement with. This is big. So let's just say that you had a conflict in the workplace or in an organization. Maybe it was in SGMP, okay? Maybe it was in some other organization. And you don't know what the heck happened, but suddenly you guys got into an argument. And what you want to do is you want to wait for things to calm down, maybe a day, maybe the next week when things are more calm. And you want to ask that person to go to coffee or lunch or whatever. And then what you want to do is resist the urge to express your opinion. You want to say, thank you for taking the time to meet with me. Always thank the person. And then say, I want to get your take on what happened last week. And then listen. Really listen. Be prepared. Don't get defensive. And what you'll often find is that it was actually something from weeks or even months ago, and it's just been eating at them. And this was just the breaking point for them. But listen, no matter what, thank them. And you will learn a lot from that experience. And it'll help you with other confrontations that you may have. Next fear is criticism. I like this. When you're getting kicked in the rear, you know you're out in front. Right? So, who likes being criticized? Raise your hand if you like being criticized. Okay. Some people, constructive feedback is great. Criticism, when delivered the wrong way, has a really negative impact. And in fact, it sticks with you for a very long time. A very long time. And you probably remember 20 years ago even, something that somebody said to you that was criticism delivered the wrong way. Constructive feedback, on the other hand, is a good thing. So here are some ways to be prepared to hold up against criticism. Step one, know yourself. Know who you are. Know your strengths. Know what you need to work on. Know what pushes your buttons. Who pushes your buttons. Know who you are. Step 2, change yourself. Work on the things that you need to work on. Everybody has something they need to work on. Everybody. I love working with people who are already great but know that they need to be better. That's my ideal client. And so always think of what should I be working on? Self-improvement. How many of you right now are working on something from a self-improvement standpoint? What you doing, Jason?
I am reading body language.
Oh, I love body language. It's one of my favorite topics.
Yeah.
Body language tells you more about a person's demeanor, behavior, what they mean than the words. And often body language contradicts the words, and body language always has more power than the words. I love body language. Yes.
I'm reading one, studying one.
Good. What?
Because it's based on things that I kind of got away from.
Yeah.
They include the Bible.
Excellent.
So I can pick it up and get more involved in it, and be more detailed about what I'm reading.
Nice. Is anyone in school right now? Anyone in school right now? Anyone taking classes?
Going back.
Yes?
In the fall,
Excellent. What are you studying?
I'm going to get a master's in public.
A master's in public health. Awesome. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. That's awesome. Christy, what are you working on?
Hi everyone. So I'm
She's my intern, by the way.
Yeah, I'm Gabrielle's intern. I'm working towards my master's in instructional design. So creating and developing training and supporting change.
Yes. She's been here all day through all this, so yeah. Anyone else? I know. Yeah.
I'm taking a class.
What's that?
I'm already graduated.
Oh, okay. Good job. Alfreda?
I'm taking a class at work. We have learning and development,
Yeah.
and I'm in the select program. And I didn't know that we had to do a speech.
Oh,
And
good.
now I'm having to do a speech, and I really can't narrow the speech down. It's only a 3 to 5 minute speech, but we can't use any paper or anything. And so I'm like,
Easy peasy.
I told her that.
that's not
I
easy.
said the same thing.
It's easy
said,
if I can
"Give me a
just
speak,
talk
come on."
and not be kind.
Gabriel, I got
Yeah.
a question.
Back by the
I
time.
got a question for you.
Yes.
Okay, this is what I was trying to know. She's trying to narrow down the speech or keep it exactly at the 3-minute level.
Yeah.
I told her don't do that.
Yeah.
You gotta just speak and go forward. You can't just try to limit
But
it
how do I
exactly
know
3
when
minutes.
the time is up?
She's worried about 3 minutes.
Well, she should be worried about the 3 minutes. If they give her 3 to 5 minutes and they cut her off, that's the worst thing you can do.
I know, but still, a limitation.
So narrow the topic. Narrow the topic first. Narrow the
I
topic.
try. Every time I write it down, I can't.
Listen.
Well, if you practice, because
Yeah, I practice whatever I can. I know.
Alfreda, listen.
Listen.
Listen. You always learn more from listening than from speaking.
Thank you.
Right?
but not to him.
What topic in general are you looking at?
I was gonna do on my first real vacation.
Your first real vacation.
Never, Kevin.
No, it wasn't.
No. Really?
My first real vacation lasted almost 2 years,
Okay.
Wait a minute. I wasn't.
Okay.
and it was I moved. I went on a vacation for 2 years, and I moved to like Virgin Islands, and I went to Hawaii. So I'm trying to put
Okay.
it in there.
So I think that's very doable. So what I would suggest is first just kind of brainstorm. Just brainstorm. And think about how you would talk to a friend to tell the story. Just like right now, what would you say to
Yeah,
me?
but how do I time it?
Listen, first just get the story down. Then time yourself. And then cut things. And then cut things. Okay? And record yourself.
I did.
Okay. Step 3. Forget yourself.
Get yourself.
Forget yourself. It's not about you. Everybody thinks it's about them. It's not about you. True leaders know that it's not about you. All this thing about being so focused on ourselves.
That sounds like I'm a president.
Okay. Okay. We won't talk about politics. But forget yourself.
Have you
Now.
heard of Toastmasters? That's all.
Yes. Highly recommend focus. Alfreda, I highly recommend Toastmasters. I recommend that to anyone who does want to work on public speaking. It's a nonprofit organization. No, just go to a local Toastmasters group. And just learn from. Yes, George.
I want to make a suggestion to Alfreda. Stop telling yourself you
See
can't.
Toastmasters on?
Because if you say you can't,
You can't.
No, I'm not saying I can't, I just don't wanna go over.
Okay,
Cause I can tell it.
Alfreda. Okay, we have 5 minutes left. So, with public speaking, which is a big fear, which is perfectly aligned with what you're talking about, one of the most important things is practice, practice, practice. And each time you say it, you're going to get better at it. First, don't worry about the timing, just tell the story. And then you're going to realize, as you listen to yourself on the recording, that you have too much stuff in there. And you're going to cut it. And it's going to naturally get to a shorter level. It's going to get more succinct. Give yourself, yes. that was a really good stretch. Taylor's like, "Argh!" Okay.
When I'm gonna be
Yes.
recorded, somebody's gonna put a camera on my face.
Our suggestion.
Yes.
Forget the camera. That's our suggestion.
Yes.
If we have 3 minutes left, let's get toasted.
We won't have 3 minutes left, but that would be fine.
3 minutes.
I suggest you just
So here's the thing.
Just tell your story to yourself. Stand there in the mirror. Like, tell your
I don't
story.
did that.
Time yourself.
Let's,
But don't try to think about it.
I have a suggestion. Let's get back on track because we only have a few minutes left.
Listen up.
Give yourself opportunities to speak and get out of your comfort zone. Alfreda, volunteer to speak even when it's uncomfortable. Okay? For anyone with a fear of public speaking, volunteer to speak. Yes.
I don't have a fear of public speaking.
Okay.
I have a fear of
Going over the
going
top.
over my time.
Record yourself speaking and then watch the video. Watch the video to make improvements. Watch especially for your body language because a lot of us have nervous habits that we do. Some of us have filler words like and some of us have nervous habits like tapping our hand or doing distracting things. Take public speaking classes and join Toastmasters. If this is a serious fear. If it's not a fear and you just need to get it to a length, that's easy.
I mean, it's get to do better.
Yes. Overcoming fear of making the wrong decision is the next common fear of the leader. So here's a great model called DECIDE. Define the problem. Establish the criteria. Consider and brainstorm possible solutions. Identify the best alternative. Develop an action plan, including a schedule. And then evaluate and monitor the outcomes, make adjustments, and always take the time to celebrate successes when you make a great decision. Okay? Overcoming fear of responsibility. This is great. Use this to help you overcome any fear. This is called anchoring. This is a psychological thing you can do. Think about the emotion that you want to anchor. Okay? And then choose a part of the body to attach that anchor. A good example would be your wrist, your hands. You could put a rubber band around your wrist. Okay? Remember a time when you felt that emotion. And then when the feelings reach their peak, press the anchor for 5 to 10 seconds. Use your anchor when needed. This really works. There's a lot of research on this. So if you have, for example, anxiety over a certain fear, anchor it. And anytime you feel that anchor, you're going to visualize something the opposite of it, and you're going to use your tactic to help you. I've had people do this in my leadership academy, and they've actually overcome completely just through this anchoring technique. It's really powerful. Overcoming fear of failure and success. You need to give yourself opportunities to succeed, and they don't have to be related to what it is you're trying to succeed in. It could be completely unrelated. I had a coaching client who had a fear of, she thought failure, but it was really success. And she was a CEO, and she was going through a really difficult time in her life. She was nearing retirement. She thought everything was in order, and she was at a financial institution, and suddenly her husband of decades decided to leave her. So went her retirement plan, everything went out the window, everything. And suddenly she started doubting everything in her life, everything in her work, her retirement, everything. She just lost her confidence. So one of her fears was heights. And so I had her do something highly uncomfortable. I had her zip line. Okay? And now I got her to agree to it. I said, what would make you really uncomfortable? And she said, probably something like zip lining. I said, okay, when are you going to do it? She's like, no way. And she did it. She did it with girlfriends and one of her female family members. She said it was the most freeing, amazing experience because she never thought, she had always told herself she couldn't do something like that. And she did it. And she said it just completely changed her life, okay? Celebrate successes and visualize success. All right, how to become a fearless leader in 1 minute or less. Yeah, I'm going to zip through these. Get over yourself. Forget perfection. Identify fears, but also the causes of those fears. Do what you avoid. Do it afraid. Change your mindset. Face your fears head on until you overcome them. Fail as fast as you can. Handle conflict effectively. Ask great questions. Plan ahead. Develop smarter goals. Take calculated risks. Enlist your team. Have a support team of people who are going to lift you up when you face your fears. Visualize success. Be confident in your decisions. Accept responsibility no matter the outcome. Reflect on efforts and results. Celebrate successes. Maintain integrity. Speak up for those who can't. Stand up to injustice and go for it. So, to wrap up, fear is something that's meant to be conquered. And the opposite of fear is faith. The opposite of fear is faith. Strive to believe in yourself and give yourself opportunities for success to overcome fears. Any questions? All right. Sorry for the rush there. No, we don't. You know, all right. I'm wrapping up. Say goodbye to our live feed. I'm going to stop streaming now. Goodbye.